Okay, good evening everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. So today, in lieu of our regular Torah and Sin program, in honor of the Yahrtzeit of the Chida, Yud Aleph Adar, we're going to speak a little bit about the Chida. I'm going to tell you an amazing story. A couple years ago, we went on a trip to Italy, and one of my kavanas to go on the trip was I wanted to go to the original site of the burial of the Chida. Chida was originally buried in Livorno. Chida now is currently buried on Har Menuchos. They moved him. The Rabbi Meir moved him. But originally the Chida was buried in the last city where he lived, in Livorno. So we made a trip. It was called In the Footsteps of the Chida. And I wanted to go to the original place where Chida was buried because you have his original kever there. On the kever is the names of all the svarim he wrote. There are different versions how many svarim he wrote. 71, 83, 32. There are different versions of how many svarim the Chida wrote. I wanted to go to his original kever. I've been, by the way, to the kever of his great-great-grandfather in Hebron. I've been to the kever of his grandfather in Har HaZeisim. I went to the kever of his son in Ancona, Italy. So I wanted to go to the Chida's original site of the burial, but the timing didn't work out. I wanted to go on his Yahrtzeit, Yud Aleph Adar. The timing didn't work out. We had to be there the next day on Yud Beis. So I was a little bit upset. I wanted to be there mamish on the Yahrtzeit, but it couldn't work out. Anyway, I got there on Yud Beis, and I couldn't believe the hashgacha was oyam v'noira, because I never knew this. The Chida passed away on Shabbos. So he wasn't buried on Yud Aleph. He was buried on Yud Beis. So I made it on the day of the Yahrtzeit, mamish, the day of his kavura. Now, the Chida passed away on Shabbos, Parsha Zachar. So this year his Yahrtzeit is Yud Aleph. So it's Shabbos, Boi B'yoyim, the same exact time frame that the Chida passed away. So, we usually learn Torah Devar in the Chida Sefer Avodas HaKodesh in the Tzipor and Shamer, Simin Yud Gimel. He summarizes the beginning of Torah Devar, the first two midos, Mi Kel Kamoicha, Hashem's supernatural tolerance, that even while we sin against him, he's giving us the koyach to have life and we're using it against him. And then the second point, that when we do an avera, we create a destructive malach, and somebody has to feed that malach, someone has to sustain the malach, and Hashem should say, you're the sinner, you sustain the malach, and Hashem continues to sustain that malach. So the Chida says, this was by way of introduction, Ma'oid yichna ha'adam lesboine b'ma sheperosh maharam kordavera. So the Chida also was a big admirer of the Sefer we're learning, Torah and Sin. So I want to share with you two segments. First of all, a little historical information on the Chida, some new material, and then a few Chidas on Purim, Haba Aleinu L'Taiva. So first of all, we're going to do this very quickly. The Chida, the Leiv Simcha, the Ger Rebbe would learn the Sifrei Chida a lot. He was very into the Sifrei Chida, and he would say what the Chida accomplished in his life, HaChida HaYachida. You know what Chida means? It's a riddle. It was like a mystery, how the Chida was able to accomplish so much. Actually, one of my favorite things in all the writings of the Chida, in Avodas HaKodesh, Ois Kuf Nun Gimel, the Chida writes, Umi she'enoi ma'aved es hazman yesh zman lakoil. For someone who doesn't waste time, there's time for everything. Here it is. Umi she'enoi ma'aved hazman yesh es lakoil. Okay. The Rebbe Rabbi Meir said that in the times of the Chida, there was a great proliferation of Sifrei Minus and Apikarsos and Maskilim. They started producing works of Apikarsos. So Hashem sent the Chida to the world to counteract the Haskalah. The Chida, by publishing all of his Svarim, he counteracted all the heretical works that were being published. So in our times, I guess to counteract all the nonsense that's on the, out there. I'm not going to say where. You also have to flood the channels with good material. That's the mahalach of the Chida.
That's why the Rav Sfram needs to be in 3 languages.
Siyata d'shmaya. Okay, then it's interesting that even Rav Moshe Halberstam said that many of the Svarim of the Chida were named after the limbs of a person. For example, Rosh David. You know what the word Rosh means? Yeah? Maris Ayin, Pesach Einayim, Toiv Ayin, Ein Zoicher, Yair Oizen, Pnei David, Peh Echad, Dvash Lefi, Safa Achas, Tzavarei Shalal, the neck, Lev David, Zroya Yamin, Kaf Achas, Moira Be'etzba, Tziparin is a fingernail Shamir, Birkei Yosef, the knees, Simchas Haregel, and then they finally printed a sefer from the Chida, Chadrei Baten, so the whole body was complete through the names of the various Svarim of the Chida. The Kloisenberger Rebbe said he once saw the signature of the Chida. Chaval, I didn't bring it in tonight. And then the Munkacher says the same thing, which is a wondrous signature. Just to design it, it's very ornate, very sophisticated. I think the Chida had to practice it many, many, many times until he got the exact. It's like almost in the shape of a boat. And he definitely put in Kabbalistic secrets and various shemos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in his signature. And the Kloisenberger Rebbe says the truth is, we find in the Sarma Kedoshim that people should be maramis to Yichudim Elyonim in their signature. By the way, the Chida quotes some of the Talmidei Baal Shem Tov. So for example, Masechta Ksubis, the Ger Rebbe, the Pnei Menachem taught, in Masechta Ksubis, the Chida, in Maras Ha'ayin, Daf Kuf Daled, brings a Chiddush of Rav Ber, the Machon Maggid. Right. And in his Sefer on Tehillim, Yosef Tehillos, the Chida brings, Parak Lamed Beis, a Chiddush of Rav Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk. You ever hear Rav Menachem, he was the Rav in Tveria. Pass me the Chumash, I'll tell you what Rav Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk says. No, I'm sorry, the Siddur. Thank you, sorry. In Parak Lamed Beis of Tehillim, the Chida brings from Rav Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk something Oyem V'Noira. The pasuk says, Ashrei Adam literally means fortunate is man. Lo yachshav Hashem lo yavain. That Hashem should not count that he has any sins. Ve'in beruchai remiyah, and no deception in his spirit. So the Chida brings from Rav Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, Ashrei Adam, fortunate is a person. Lo yachshav Hashem, that when he's not thinking of Hashem, lo yavain, he considers it a sin. Fortunate is somebody that if he's just, letting his mind go idle, and he's not thinking of Hashem, if such a tzaddik says, I sinned, I let my mind be diverted from focusing on Hashem, ashrei such a person. That's what the Chida brings down in Tehillim, in his Sefer Yosef Oimetz. Also, there's a Sefer that is part of the Sefer Chida set, but he didn't write it. It's from his grandson, Rav Moshe Azulai. He says, I heard the Chida many times during Suda Shabbos, he would say, L'kavoid Shabbos Malkasa. L'kavoid Shabbos Malkasa. It's worthwhile when you eat on Shabbos, you should have that specific kavanah. Say when you have the meat board on Shabbos, they, obviously you have it on Shabbos, not Friday, yeah? When you have it on Shabbos, you think you're eating it L'kavoid Shabbos Malkasa. Okay. Anyway, also other of the Admorei Chasidah said that the Chida, in his with his many works, he was mavatel the Sifrei Minim. Okay, two more zachen, and then I'm going to tell you some chidushim on Purim from the Chida. Chazal say, this is from Kisvei Yad of the Chida. It's not published. The Gemara says in Shabbos, Kol hamoired demois aladam kosher. Anyone who cries on a kosher Jew, Hakadosh Baruch Hu soifran, Hashem counts these tears, umanichan beveis genazav, and he puts it in his storehouse. So again, the lashon of Chazal is called hamoirid demois al adam kasher hakadosh baruch hu soifran umanichan beveis genazav. Hashem counts these tears and He puts them in His storehouse. So the Chida says that Ari would say that the tears that a person emits for an adam kasher, soifran, they become sapphire stones, sapir, to build the Beis Hamikdash. HaKadosh Baruch Hu soifran, Hashem transforms them into avnei sapir to become the stones of the Beis Hamikdash. And this is what it means in Tehillim. Sima demasi b'noidecha haloi b'sifrasecha, that we should be zocheh that Hashem makes them sapirim. Okay. Then one last amazing Gematria. There's a sefer, Igrois HaChida, who says the Gematria of Torah. What's the Gematria of Torah? 611. Plus the 4 letters is Gematria, V'zeh Kara Chaim Yosef David Azulai. That the Torah was read by Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulai. Talmud Bavli is Gematria, Boy Asak Chaim Yosef David Azulai. Talmud Bavli is Gematria, the Chida was engrossed in it. Yerushalmi is Gematria, Boy Kara Chaim Yosef David Azulai. So basically he learned Chumash, he learned Torah, he learned Talmud Bavli, and he learned Talmud Yerushalmi. And evident by his 83 svarim that he composed. Zechusai Yagein Aleinu. Okay. Well, I want to tell you one more thing that the Chida says.